It is UFC Fight Night, Royval versus Kape fight week, and today I'm going to be looking at the entire card and giving my predictions for every fight on the card. And my God, this is a hideous poster. They just deep fried this picture. I don't know what's going on with it. Royval or Kape is blending into the background. This is horrendous. I don't know what I'm looking at. It's pretty reflective of the state of this card because my oh my, this is a very very poor fight night card. But as always, we'll get into it, starting with the early prelim opener. Jamie Lynn Horth versus Teresa Bleda, I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm going to go with Teresa Bleda getting this one done by decision. Shocker. She is a lot younger than Jamie Lynn Horth. She is 11 years younger, I believe. She's got quite a big reach advantage. I think she has 5 inches of reach over Jamie Lynn Horth. And frankly, she's just looked better in her UFC career so far than Jamie Lynn Horth has. She's beaten the girl that beat Wang Kong. If you remember the girl that looks like a female Hulk, she took care of her, beat her by decision. I think her only loss as well is to Natalia Silva. At least her only loss in the UFC is to Natalia Silva. Actually, her record's 7-1, so her only loss period is to Natalia Silva, who is a very very good women's fighter. And Jamie Lynn Horth just isn't all that good. She's had a pretty up and down career in the UFC. Has lost to some not so good opponents. So I'm going to go with Teresa Bleda getting this one done by a pretty clear decision. Moving on, this heavyweight fight between Alan Fry and Guilherme Pat. Two guys debuting, so not a lot to know about these two guys. But I'm going to go with Guilherme Pat getting this one done. I'll say by a round 2 knockout. Alan Fry is dangerous from what my research told me. He has all of his 6 wins by knockout, so that's something to worry about. But I think if Guilherme Pat can get through the early storm and the potential knockouts of Alan Fry, I think as he builds into this fight, he'll start to take over. He has some experience deeper into fights. You know, he's had a couple fights that have gone into the 3rd round. One of them he got a KO in round 3, so. The other he won by decision, but that shows that he can handle fights that go late. He's not gonna to wilt as the fight goes on. So I worry about that with Alan Fry. I worry about that with a lot of guys who are coming into the UFC and just are having a dominant win streak, all by KOs, because eventually they'll run into some adversity, and how will they handle it when they get in that position? So I'm gonna go with the guy who's been in those situations. I'm also just frankly kind of taking a look at how each of them are built, and I have a little bit more faith in someone built like Pat to win a fight over someone like Fry, just being real. And Pat, he's fought in the LFA before. I think that's a good promotion. I think a lot of great talent in the UFC comes from that organization. So I'm trusting Pat in this one. I think he's going to get it done. I'll say by round 2 KO, maybe weathers an early storm from Alan Fry, and then gets it done. He rallies and wins in round 2. Moving on, Melissa Croden versus Luana Santos. I'm gonna go with Melissa Croden. She has a lot of KOs on her record. I think she has 6 of her wins by knockout, and doing that in women's MMA is impressive. She's got a decent bit of power, and Luana Santos, not all that great, with all due respect. So I'm gonna go with Croden getting this one done. Plus, she has pretty big frame advantage. She's has a 3-inch height advantage, and scroll down here, got an 1.5 inch in reach, but bigger woman. A lot of knockouts on her record. Probably going to have a physicality advantage of this fight. I'm going to be picking her to beat Luana Santos by decision. I can't get away from the shitty heavyweight fights and the women's MMA fights. It's there's no escape from them. We're back in the apex. This is a great way to end the ESPN era. Last week we had an incredible card, UFC 323, card of the year. Would have been a hell of a way to end the year, but I mean, there's really no better way to end the ESPN era than to end it in the apex. So this is pretty fitting, and these fights reflect that. So Sean Sharef versus Steven Asplund. I'm gonna go with Steven Asplund. This is the guy who got a early knockout on Dana White's Contender Series, and then asked Dana White if he could suck his toes, if I recall correctly. That is the guy, because that's the same guy I remember who had his skin pretty much drooping down to the floor. Former 500-pound man himself. Sean Sharef doesn't look too far below 500 pounds. They are both some big guys. Not muscular, just big. So I'm going to go with Asplund. Yeah, he got a knockout early in the Contender Series. He's got a big frame advantage over Sean Sharaf, a much bigger, taller guy. Um, and Sharaf his only fight in the UFC. It was a loss to Junior Tafa by early KO. It's been over a year since he's fought. With that being his only fight in the UFC. I don't know how you can pick him. I'm gonna go with the guy who has a little bit of momentum. Maybe he's riding some confidence coming off that round one knockout, and he did it pretty dominantly. I mean, looking at him going into that fight, I was thinking when I was watching that Dana White's Contender Series episode, I was thinking he was gonna lose, but he got it done, and he got it done dominantly. So I'm gonna pick him to do the same here. Give me Steven Asplund by round one KO, and hopefully he has a funny moment on the mic afterwards. We'll see. Moving on, Neil Magny versus Yaroslav Amosov. This is a good fight. This is first good fight on the card. I'm gonna go. Who am I gonna go with? I'm gonna go with Neil Magny. And I think I took a look at the odds, and I think he's a pretty sizable underdog, which understandable. Amosov is very talented. Only one loss on his record, but that loss is to Jason Jackson, who I don't frankly rate all that highly. Jason Jackson was a longtime Bellator champ, but I mean, we've learned time and time again that these Bellator guys, they're not on the same level as these UFC guys. They're just not. It's really that simple. And I think Magny, he has a good style to counter what Amosov does really well, which is he is a strong grappler. Magny's got very good defensive grappling, got very good submission ability of his own. He does a good job utilizing his range on the feet, too. He's going to have a frame advantage over Amosov in this fight. He's got good knees to the body, does really good work in the clinch. I think he has a good style to counter, a grappling heavy style of Amosov. And I think he's going to get it done. I think it's going to be a very close fight. I have him getting this one done by decision. I don't think he'll get a finish in this one like he has been getting lately. People forget, man. I didn't mean to say that. I really didn't. But Magny, he's on a bit of a win streak right now, and he's been getting finishes. He got that late submission over Jake Matthews. I know there was some controversy in that fight, but he still did. He had that win by submission, or maybe I think it was ground and pound TKO over Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. That was a very impressive win, and he was a pretty big underdog in that fight too, I believe. So Magny keeps getting overlooked, and he keeps turning these guys away. And this is a guy who wasn't championship level in Bellator. And we've seen time and time again these guys come over from Bellator and just completely get shut out by UFC guys in their debut. And Neil Magny, he's not a slouch. I know he's been done really bad by a lot of guys in the UFC, but those are guys who usually make it up the rankings and end up being top prospects, like Michael Morales, Carlos Prates, guys that usually make it to the top of the sport. But guys that aren't at that elite level, he seems to turn them away pretty often. So give me Neil Magny getting this one done by close decision, I'll say. We'll move on. Joanderson Brito versus Isaac Thompson. Speaking of tough debuts, this is a very tough one for Isaac Thompson. He's got an impressive resume. I mean, he fought in the LFA. He's only got a couple losses. He's got good grappling, good striking. He's pretty well rounded. But Joanderson Brito in your debut is a really tough draw, and for that reason, I am going Joanderson Brito, and I think he's going to get an early finish in this fight. Joanderson Brito, he's been exposed for the technical flaws in his game. You saw it against Pat Sabatini, getting held down for 3 rounds. There's another fight as well where I think it was against William Gomez. He arguably won that fight, but for a large portion of that fight, he was getting shut down on the feet by someone who didn't pose a whole lot of danger in William Gomez. But I just think, in your debut against a guy as aggressive and as dangerous as Joanderson Brito, that's really, really tough. Brito has good submission ability. He's got really devastating knockout power. He's got really good low kicks. He got a finish by a low kick that caused a doctor stoppage against Jake Shore, I believe, or Jack Shore. So yeah, Joanderson Brito, I think he's just going to be too much for Isaac Thompson. I do think it sucks for Isaac Thompson because, he probably would have been a guy that would have got on a Contender Series, would have probably had a shot in the UFC. And even if he loses this one, he's still going to get another shot. They typically reward guys who step up on short notice and save events or save fights. This fight wouldn't save the event. Let's be real. Who cares if it falls through? But, yeah, he stepped up. He saved this fight, kept an opponent for Joanderson Brito. So I think they'll reward him. They'll keep him around after this, win or lose. But, yeah, I think Brito's going to be a little bit too tough for him. So give me Joanderson Brito, early finish over Isaac Thompson. We'll move on. Amanda Lemos versus Jillian Robertson. I'm going to go with Amanda Lemos. I am. I believe she's an underdog in this matchup, but I think she's going to get it done. Jillian Robertson, she's on a bit of a win streak. I think she's won 4 in a row. But she's had a bit of an up and down career where she's been shown levels before. And Amanda Lemos, she's not terrible. She's not great. She's been a bit up and down since she fought Zhang Wei Li and got dominated. But I think Jillian Robertson's that level of opponent where she can beat. And she has some impressive performances in her last few fights. I mean, she did lose. She did lose to Tatiana Suarez, but she kept it close. And Tatiana Suarez was just cruising through that division, dominating everybody in her path before she ran into Zhang Wei Li. So for Amanda Lemos to take her to a close decision, I think is pretty impressive. Obviously, she didn't get it done, but still something to take away from that win or from that loss. She also beat the current champ. She beat Mackenzie Dern a little bit over a year ago. She beat Yasmin Lucinda. She's been turning away girls that have come up the rankings, and I think Jillian Robertson, like I said, she's kind of found her level in the UFC, and although she's on a bit of a win streak, I think Amanda Lemos is going to be a little bit too much for her on the feet. Lemos is powerful for women's MMA, that is. She's got good stand-up. She's also got good submission ability on the ground, so she could tie up Jillian Robertson in some awkward positions. I think she's well-rounded. She's got good striking. She's got power, uses her kicks well. And she's shown that she can hang around with some of the up-and-comers in this division, so I think she gets this one done over Jillian Robertson by decision. Moving on, Bobby Green versus Lance Gibson Jr. I'm going to go with Bobby Green, and it's a bit of a risky pick because Bobby Green's chin is cardboard. He's very prone to getting knocked out, but this is I don't know what this matchup is. I don't know what we're doing. I mean, Bobby Green, he's not that bad where I think you should be giving him guys in their debut. And I know this is a relatively short notice fight for Lance Gibson, but if they've had Bobby Green versus like TBA as the matchup for this card for a while. I don't know why they're so hell-bent on getting Bobby Green on this card, but they've been looking for a matchup for him for a while. So they've had time to figure out who his opponent will be, and I don't know how they drew the name Lance Gibson. I don't understand it because he's not all that good. I know he has a 9-1 record, so that might stand out to some people. But the guys he's beaten are not good at all. They are absolute scrubs. And yeah, I think he had I want to say just 1 or 2 fights in Bellator, and he lost and got cut. Or he didn't really get cut, I think. Bellator kind of folded, and I guess the PFL didn't pick him up, so he went back to the regional scene. But I don't know. I mean, I'm just not wowed by anything on his regional career to think he'll go in and beat someone who has as much experience and the skills that Bobby Green has. I don't think he's going to get it done. Bobby Green is still a very talented boxer. He's got underrated grappling. He has a lot of submissions on his record. I think in this fight he's going to outbox Lance Gibson. I think he's going to dance around. I think he's going to get it done. I think experience will be a big factor in this one. He's been in there with a lot of dangerous guys. And I think this fight's going to look similar to the Jim Miller fight where, maybe he faces a little bit of adversity early. Maybe, the aggressiveness gets to him and the more aggressive fighter is able to catch him trying to put his hands down and move out of the way like he always does. But I think he'll rally. I think he'll take over as the fight goes on. And I'll have him getting a late, I'll say round 2 or 3 TKO due to volume, just outboxing Lance Gibson, picking his shots well, and eventually building into a late TKO finish for Bobby Green. That's what I'm going to go with. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Marcus Buchecha. I'm going to go with Nzechukwu. He should get this one done. Marcus Buchecha is not very good. He came into the UFC. He's big. He's built. He had a BJJ background. So people will look at him as some pretty dangerous guy coming into the UFC, but he got completely shut out by Martin Buday. And I think if that's happening to you, I think Kennedy Nzechukwu was going to get the better of you as well. Nzechukwu was good too. He's looked good at heavyweight. I know he lost his last fight to Walter Walker, but I really don't think that's much to hang your head on. Walter Walker is very dangerous on the ground, very talented, and he's just another heel hook victim. I don't think there's much to be said about that one. And I don't think Buchecha has the same submission threat that Walter Walker has, especially when it comes to the heel hook. So I think Nzechukwu was going to get this one done. He also has some KO power. Knocked out a couple heavyweights. Or I think he knocked out Chris Barnett, and then I think he got another knockout over a heavyweight. Kind of beats up on the fat guys, but Buchecha's not good. He's just not good. And Nizuchukwu, he has a lot of UFC experience. He's also been in there with some guys that pose a grappling threat against him at light heavyweight, where there is a lot more skill and a lot more technique than what Buchecha will offer. So I'm going to pick Nizuchukwu defending the takedowns and getting a late round 1 KO. I think it'll be a TKO against the fence. Puts him down and gets another win at heavyweight. And yeah, Marcus Buchecha probably gets cut after this. I just don't see him winning after the performance he put on against Martin Buday. We'll move on. Malik Costa versus Morgan Charrier. Potential fight of the night matchup right here. This is a sick fight. I'm excited for this one. I guess this is probably when I'll be watching the whole card, obviously. But this is when I'm really start dialing in on it, because this fight is one I'm amped up for. I'm going to go with Malik Costa getting this one done. I'm going to say by decision. I think, Morgan Charrier, he does have a lot of finishing potential. He's got a devastating knockout power, and I do worry about that because Malik Costa has been caught and put away by another very dangerous finisher in the featherweight division in Steve Garcia. So I do worry about that a little bit, but I don't know. I think Malik Costa, he's put together quite a streak right now in the featherweight division. I think he's on 4 or 5 wins in a row. Pretty impressive stuff. He's been able to weather the storm against pretty dangerous strikers. Not quite as powerful as Morgan Charrier, but he won over Andre Fili, got a win over Christian Rodriguez, who's very, very well rounded, and we've seen Morgan Charrier have holes in his game exposed. He was getting outstruck in his last fight against Nate Landwehr until he got that round 3 finish. It wasn't looking good up until that point, so that is something to worry about a little bit, because I think Malik Costa is more technically skilled than Nate Landwehr. I don't really think that's something that can be argued, in all honesty. Landwehr's good, and he's got overwhelming pressure, but I think Costa's a little smarter, a little more makes the better decisions on the feet, is what I'll say. So I think Costa's a little bit too well-rounded, and I think he'll be able to find those holes in Morgan Charrier's game, and I think he'll be able to expose them. I think he'll have some success on the ground in this fight. I think he'll be able to mix it up well. He's also got a frame advantage. He's got 2 inches of height and reach over Morgan Charrier. So I think I could see Morgan Charrier winning round 1, having some moments of success, maybe hurting Malik Costa, but I think Costa will rally. And I think he'll probably win the last 2 rounds and get a decision win over Morgan Charrier in a fight that I think will be awesome. So I am looking forward to that one. Move on. Cesar Almeida versus Cezary Alexejczyk. Mikhail Alexejczyk's brother. I don't know if he's younger or older, but his brother regardless. I'm going to go with the Alexejczyk brother getting this one done over Cesar Almeida. Cesar Almeida looked really, really impressive coming into the UFC. He was someone that seemed really dangerous. He was one of those glory kickboxer guys who is really dangerous on the feet. And, we were thinking if he can defend the takedown, he could be a problem. But we've seen, number one, he can't defend the takedown. And number 2, he's also not that much of a problem on the feet. I mean, this is a guy who got shut down by Roman Kopylov, completely out-grappled by him. If you're getting out-grappled by Roman Kopylov, I really don't think that's a good look. That is very, very concerning. So that was not a good look. He also was having a lot of trouble with Abdul Razak Al-Hassan on the feet before he got that flash KO. Al-Hassan got a little bit too reckless and got caught. He paid for it. But before that, he got really, really hurt by Al-Hassan. Cesar Almeida did. So that's not a good look. I think this is, he's got good aspects of his game. He's very fast. He's got very snappy body kicks, very dangerous kicks. I mean, anytime he lands body kicks clean on guys, it thuds. You can hear it loud. It slaps and it echoes across the arena. But a body kick's not going to win you a fight by itself. And I think Alexejczyk, I think he's well-rounded. He's got a wealth of experience. He's got very good experience in the regional scene. He has 19 fights on his record, 16 of them being wins. Cesar Almeida only has 8 fights in his MMA career. So Alexejczyk, although this is his debut, has a lot of experience, a lot more than that is than Cesar Almeida. And I think he'll be able to mix this one up. I think he'll be able to get it done. And I think he might be able to have some success on the feet as well. He's very dangerous. He has a lot of knockouts on his record. He had that knockout earlier in this year on Contender Series, which was very impressive. And I think he's got too many things for Cesar Almeida to worry about. And I think if he gets that threat of the takedown in Almeida's head, that'll lead to things opening up on the feet. And I think he'll get this one done by decision. Maybe Almeida has a round of success. Maybe he keeps it standing and outstrikes him. But overall, I think Alexejczyk has too many things for Almeida to worry about, and he'll get this one done by decision is what I'll say. Giga Chikadze versus Kevin Vallejos. I'm gonna go with the Argentinian getting this one done. Kevin Vallejos. I am a little bit worried about this matchup because he is very, very small for featherweight. He is a tiny featherweight. You can see he's 5'7", very stocky, very short reach. But his style kind of covers up that frame disadvantage. He's a very good boxer. He likes to get in the pocket and land big shots. And in his last fight against Danny Silva, it was another guy who was very rangy, similarly to Giga Chikadze. Had very good kicks, was pretty dynamic on the feet, was very flashy. Very similar style matchup to what Giga Chikadze I think is going to pose. And Kevin Vallejos dealt with it well. There was a little bit of moments of trouble for him. He got caught here and there, but nothing crazy. He pretty much controlled most of that fight. He had a lot of success getting in the pocket, landing big shots. So I think if he can get in on Giga Chikadze, get inside, land big shots. I also think Giga Chikadze, and this might just be a product of how he looks, but he seems very frail and bullyable. So I think if Vallejos is able to get inside, rip some body shots, bring him upstairs, I think he'll be able to land some big ones on Giga Chikadze, maybe hurt him here and there. I don't think he'll get a finish. I think this is a big jump up in competition, so I think Chikadze will have some success. And Vallejos will see some adversity in this fight, but I do ultimately have him getting this one done by decision. He is very talented, and it's hard to pick against him. I mean, we've seen guys a similar build and a similar style rise up the ranks at featherweight, become champ. I'm talking about Ilia Topuria. So I think Kevin Vallejos, he may not have the power, and he may not quite have the grappling that Ilia Topuria has, but he has very, very crisp boxing, very dangerous. And I think if he can get inside, get in the pocket, and trade with Giga Chikadze, I think he'll land the better, more effective shots, and he'll win a decision over Giga Chikadze. That is my prediction for this one. And in the main event, Brandon Royval versus Manel Kape. Now, if this fight would have taken place in the 2 times that it was scheduled to happen earlier this year, you had the fight night in like February or March. That fight ended up falling through. Brandon Royval had to pull out with an injury. Then they were rebooked for, I want to say it was UFC 317, that card with, it was UFC 317, because that's the one where we had Van versus Royval, which was a fight of the year contender. These two were originally scheduled to fight on that card. Kape pulled out. Van stepped in on short notice. So if that fight happened on either of those 2 cards before the Joshua Van fight, basically, I would have picked Brandon Royval. But after seeing the Joshua Van fight and the struggles that Brandon Royval had in this fight, I'm going to go with Manel Kape. I have some reasons for that, of course, or else I wouldn't have picked him. And it's not just because of the fact that Brandon Royval lost to Joshua Van. Joshua Van is very talented. And he has some aspects of his game that differ from what Manel Kape does well. But Manel Kape, I think, we saw Brandon Royval get beat to the punch a lot against Joshua Van. And Manel Kape, I think he is the fastest guy in the UFC. I think he has the quickest hands. Not the most dangerous, doesn't have the most devastating knockout power, but he can probably beat anybody to the punch. He is lightning quick, and I think that's going to be a problem against Brandon Royval, who's getting beaten to the punch a lot against Joshua Van. I also think, he's very hard to hit. I think Royval is going to have a hard time landing clean on him. Then Manel Kape is very, very elusive, very hard to hit clean. Always bouncing around, always moving side to side, very quick in and out of range. So I think Brandon Royval is going to have a hard time establishing that range and landing clean shots on him. And another thing too, Manel Kape, I see that when he tends to get tentative on the feet and struggle is when he's facing guys that have that grappling threat. I think about that Bruno Silva fight where I think Bruno Silva feinted a takedown and he leapt backwards and sprawled, landed face first, just off the feint. He was so worried about the takedown, but he ended up not having to worry about the grappling in that fight. He cruised to a win. He dominated on the feet, got a knockout win over Bruno Silva. And then you think back to the Makayev fight as well. Manel Kape got really hesitant on the feet because of how worried he was about the takedown. I don't think that threat's going to be a problem in this fight. Brandon Royval does have good grappling, but I don't think I think he's confident enough in his stand-up, and I don't think he relies on his offensive grappling enough where I think that's not going to be a factor in this fight. I don't think Manel Kape's going to have to worry about the grappling, and because of that, he's really going to get flowing on the feet. And I think Manel Kape in flow state he is hard to beat. So I just think, how quick he is, how dangerous he is in the pocket. I think he's going to be beating Brandon Royval to the punch, similar to how Joshua Van was able to do. I think Kape is faster than Joshua Van. And Royval's going to have a hard time hitting him. I mean, this is a guy he is hard to match on the feet. Manel Kape is as good of a striker as there is. And another factor, too, you can't really see it in this picture, but I tell you what, when you watch on Fight Night, you will see it. Manel Kape has crazy gyno. I mean, we're talking about peak gyno Izzy, except on both sides of his chest. It's crazy. Maybe he just naturally has gyno, but maybe this dude's on the super sauce and he's gonna go out there and whoop up on Brandon Royval. I don't know. It's a coin flip. Make your call, whatever you think it is. But the fact is, he has crazy gyno, so something to make note of, just to consider if you're considering picking Brandon Royval. But yeah, I think Manel Kape has the speed advantage, lightning quick hands, and I think he's gonna get to flowing, and I think he's gonna start piecing Brandon Royval as this fight goes on. I don't know how much experience he has in 5-round fights. I didn't really look at how late those fights went in his career. I know he has a lot of experience in Ryzen. Yeah, he has a really long career. I mean, he has 28 pro fights, had a lot of fights in Ryzen, had a lot of fights in the UFC as well. He's been in there with really tough competition. So I think he's going to get it done over Brandon Royval. I think he's too quick on the feet, too sharp. And Brandon Royval looked really sloppy in his last fight, and I don't think he's going to be able to utilize his range as well against an opponent who's as elusive as Manel Kape. So I'm picking Manel Kape to get this one done by decision. I don't think he's going to finish Brandon Royval. I don't think he doesn't really have a whole lot of power. I know he has 2 KOs in a row, I want to say, against Bruno Silva and Asu Almabayev, but the Bruno Silva finish was a little bit sketchy. I know he got it was kind of a grazing nut shot before the finish, and Bruno Silva kind of covered up because he was kind of hurt to the body / groin. But I don't really feel a whole lot of sympathy for Bruno Silva because Silva landed like 2 or 3 nut shots of his own in that fight. Anytime Manel Kape started to build towards anything, he would just throw a kick down the middle and groin shot Manel Kape. So I don't have a whole lot of sympathy for Bruno Silva in that situation. But with the Asu Almabayev one, with that KO, he definitely eye poked Almabayev before he got that finish. So I don't know. Maybe unless he eye pokes Brandon Royval, I don't see him getting a finish in this one. Those KOs kind of have some asterisks next to them. So I don't think Brandon Royval is going to get finished, but I do think Kape's going to win. And I think it'll be close. I think Brandon Royval will have some success. I think the kicks will be used well in this fight, but I don't see him totaling up a ton of damage on the lead leg of Manel Kape. He's very light on his feet, and he's able to switch stance as well, so I don't think that's going to be too much of a threat. And yeah, maybe Royval wins a round or two, but it's just hard for me to pick against Manel Kape in this one. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you watching this far. A like and subscription would be appreciated. And yeah, I don't really have anything going on this weekend either. So I think I'm gonna do a fight companion. Plus, we're gonna have like a 6-week break. So I want to get my first fight companion in. So if you'd like to tune into that, feel free to check it out. Pop in the chat, ask some questions. I'll be answering whatever you guys throw at me. UFC related, that is. I'm not getting too crazy. So yeah, check that out if you want.